Hello and welcome back to the show. And I am super excited for our guest today, Mike Dallas-Petersen. Mike is the founder of the Integrator Academy, and he is a coach helping online business owners and business owners in general with their automation, their integration, and basically creating synergy and all the different things going on in their business. And, as real estate agents and entrepreneurs, that is one of the most important things to add to our businesses is to create that synergy and all the different tools that we have access to and that we use on a daily basis. So without further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm excited to have you here and kind of wanted to, before we dig into anything, just get your background and get your story. So if you don't mind, would you just kind of tell us a little bit about how you got into this? What was it that kind of made you, interested in, helping people build, these integrations in their businesses?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a funny story, to be honest with you. I got into it by mistake. I just kind of found it because I failed my way to there. So I was back in like 2016. My first kid Elliot was born, and I was working your typical corporate job. I was management in a tire company, making 100,000 plus a year. Thought things were good, but worked for some, I call them boomer bosses. So I worked for some boomer bosses who didn't really care much about the fact that I just had a kid, and like, just anyways, the environment was very toxic, and I was like, I don't want to do this like for the rest of my life. This is silly. I'm just going to get out and go figure something out. So I quit cold turkey. Went into multi-level marketing, affiliate marketing. I did marketing agencies. I've done, you name it, I tried it. I spent an entire year. Here in Canada, you have EI, or employment insurance. So I went on EI for a year and raised my child and spent that first year with him. And my wife ended up at the end going back to work, and I failed my way into like having to go back to work again, which was not a big deal. I had mild success in a bunch of different things, but I could never make anything like full time. And so I ended up going back to work, but I went to, and I started up a tire company because I quit a tire company. So I started up a brand new tire company in town in competition, just out of spike. And I started for like a local entrepreneur. And through that process of starting, like, hiring, building the SOPs, building all the manuals, getting all the systems in place, getting all the tools, getting everything organized and trained and ready to go. I was like, this is kind of what I'm good at. And so I was like, mistakenly, I was like, man, like all the people that I've ever talked to throughout my multi-level marketing, my marketing agencies, all this kind of stuff, like, I think they need my help because I was good at that stuff, but I was never good at like the selling or the posting online or social media stuff. I was like, I like could care less for that stuff. So I started like reaching back out to my old contacts. I'm like, hey, do you want some help setting this up? And hey, do you want some help setting this up? And finally, after a few conversations, they're like, yeah, I'll give you $1,000 a month to just stay in my Slack channel and help me out. I'm like, $1,000 a month? Sure, sure, yeah, okay, great. Like just flabbergasted that I got offered like 1,000 US a month, which is like 1,300 bucks Canadian, right? So that's where it started, and that's where I kind of like failed my way into like that. And then ever since then, I've just been, helping any kind of business owner, whether it's brick and mortar or online, essentially fix or set up or, optimize their sales and marketing systems. And so been just bouncing around doing that ever since. And I have recently gotten to a point where I just can't take on more work, and I don't want to have more employees, and I don't really want that big business. It's not my goal to have Rolls Royces and Rolexes and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's not my huge goal. But so I was like, I'm just going to teach people how to do what I do. And so that's where the Integrator Academy came from. So I got this kind of double business where I'm being an integrator and I'm helping business owners, but I'm also teaching people how to become integrators so we can get more of us out there. Right. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's really interesting that when you first started in business, you actually failed in your first couple of like business ventures, right? Like you mentioned, when you first started out in affiliate marketing and multi-level marketing, it didn't necessarily work out the way that you had originally planned. But what happened was, right now you do have a successful business. Actually, you can consider multiple successful businesses, depending on the things that you're doing as far as helping business owners with their integration, and then also having your own academy to help other people set up similar types of businesses that you are currently running as well. So I think it's really interesting. And if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about maybe some of the lessons that you learned from, failing in your first business venture and then, now being successful. Because I know a lot of people out there, maybe, they're running their business now and it's not looking like it's going to work out. And maybe they're telling themselves the wrong narrative, which is that they're not cut out for business or entrepreneurship. But I know a lot of people who in their first, in their first try at this, it didn't necessarily work out, but on their second, third, fourth, fifth tries later, they're very successful, just like your story. So would you mind sharing some of the lessons you learned, maybe some things to look out for some people out there who maybe failed in their first businesses, but need to kind of get back on their feet and try it again?
Yeah. So I think the biggest lesson, and this is going to be very anticlimactic, is just taking care of your body. So like
Mm,
one of the biggest things I learned, and this just comes before all the good stuff, I suppose, is like eating well, exercising, and then just like taking care of like yourself, right? So um, I mean, again, I always like to start with that one because no one ever really does. No one ever really talks about that. I mean, they do, but not as much, right? So I would find that like eating properly, whole foods, staying away from the processed crap, exercising, moving your body. It doesn't matter if you're walking, whatever, just move it a little bit every day, right? And and then just like turn off the phone and don't even have it in your bedroom when you go to sleep. Nothing, right? And I find those three things are just like has transformed my life. But other than that, I would say that like failure for me has just been like stepping stones, right? Like all they've done just like led me get up to where I'm at now. At the time, it was really hard to realize that, and it was like very painful and like very aggravating. But I find that like um, if I didn't go through those failures, I wouldn't have realized what I'm really good at, right? And I think that most people, if you're listening to this and you've tried a few different things, um, I would say like the gold that you're looking for, or gold, sorry, not gold, but gold that you're looking for, is generally in something that you've already been doing within these failures. And so for me, it was like setting up the systems, but not actually running the full on business myself, right? And so where I was like, and this was really a huge transformation for me. It was like I don't really like running the businesses. I don't like the maintenance or the sitting there doing the same thing every day. I'm very ADHD, all this kind of stuff, right? Like I want to just do different things, right? And so with that, I was like, oh well, I'll just work for 15 different companies and it'll be different every day. And so that's I guess one of the biggest transformations I had. Um, I find that my favorite saying of all times, and it has a bit of a story. We don't have to get into it, but we can if we have time at the end. But my favorite saying of all time is "Gold isn't where you think it is where you find it." And so back in the day, old timers and gold mining and all that stuff, they used to find gold on the inside bend of a river and pan for gold, and they find it. And the saying goes like, just because you think gold is there doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be. So in life and in business in general, I use that all the time. It's just like just because you think or someone else or the guru or whoever you're following or the course that you bought and all that, just because it says one thing doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way or the best way, if that makes sense, right? And so I always use that in everything. And if I could go back in time and tell myself to do something, it would be less courses, right? More YouTube. And so I always joke that I graduated from the University of YouTube because I've spent over $250,000 in the last 6 years on mentors, courses, and all this kind of stuff. And I've gotten probably 75% of my best advice off YouTube. And so I just think that like there's nothing wrong with finding specialized help and all that kind of stuff, and finding an actual mentor that's doing what you're doing. I think that's super valuable. But I find that the courses is like bouncing from one course or bouncing from one secret button or whatever you want to call it, magic solution to the next magic solution, is just not gonna. It's not gonna be it. So
Yeah, I actually really love that advice. That you mentioned that, just because you see like one guru or one person or influencer out there doing something and preaching how, they're successful and what you need to do to be successful, just because somebody's doing it one way doesn't mean that's the only way, right? Doesn't mean that's the way that you need to do it. Right. And watching many different YouTube channels out there all for free, you can pretty much get as much information as you can as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to kind of almost create your own philosophy in that sense as well. So I think that's really important. But let's talk about integration for a second, because I know that's definitely your bread and butter. And I'm sure one of the things that you probably realized as you started to transition into the integration business was, what didn't work for you in the beginning, which was, you didn't really like the selling, you didn't really like the kind of running the business piece of it. You like to do different things. You're really good at setting up systems. So for a lot of people, they're the complete opposite, right? Especially, I know a lot of agents, right? They're really outgoing. They love to go out there and sell and talk to people, but they are terrible, right? It drains them to set up these integrations and automations, and they run into a wall at where they can't scale their business because they're the only person essentially with their 24 hours during the day to be able to kind of work that business, and they have to do everything manually. So for somebody who is kind of in that position and maybe they're really successful, because I know a lot of really successful agents out there who don't have a lot of integration or systems, but they know they need it, but they can't seem to slow down. What would your advice be to somebody like that who, maybe they need to take like a little haircut on their business for a couple months just to kind of slow down a little bit and maybe change their pace?
Yeah. So yeah, such a loaded question, because like um real estate agents in general, I find I've worked with a lot of them. I find that they are, fairly stubborn, but they built what they've built and they've done very well at what they've done. But again, they're stuck. And so I think that like taking a step back and realizing that you can't be the person that takes you to the next level, is number one. Just having that realization, dropping the ego or whatever it might be, like holding you there, whatever that might be in the moment. It could be something completely different as well. But being able to like just realize that you need the help, I think, is number one. Number two would be like take the cut, right? Like you said, right? Maybe you just sell one house less, or maybe you just prioritize the business for 1 month and you work later, or you work weekends, or you take those extra hours that you normally never used to take. And so I find that like even some of the integrators that I've been teaching lately, uh, they're still working full-time jobs, but they spend 2 hours at night before they go to bed or something like that, just really focusing on and honing their skills. And it's been doing like tremendous amounts of there's a lot of benefits from it. So I think that like for real estate agents in general, I think there's a lot of noise in terms of like what they need and how like what software and the next magic solution and magic this or whatever. Right. My biggest solution or my advice for a real estate agent or even any online business owner in general is finding some sort of software solution that has the majority of what you need in one. And why is because, and I'm talking myself almost out of a job, but if you don't need like the glue, which is like Zapier and Pabbly and all of these kind of integrator tools that glue one software to the next software, make them talk. If you don't need them, then you can do everything in one place, one software. Then it's a lot easier to learn, and it's a lot easier to, or you make a lot less mistakes, or a lot less integration mistakes, if that makes sense. You can make things talk a lot easier. And so one of the solutions that I always recommend, and it's got a bit of a bad name because of their affiliate part, is Go High Level. Go High Level is probably one of the best solutions out there in terms of like, it's got your funnels, it's got your booking calendars, it's got your websites, it's got your chat widgets, it's got your reviews. It's got emailing and nurturing and lead scoring, and it's got everything that you would need in one place for a low monthly cost, right? And so you could go and get Pipedrive, or you could go get, or use a Google Sheet, or you could go get Close.io, or, HubSpot or something like that. But you're going to be, getting that, and then Calendly, and then you're going to need, this, and then you're going to need Zapier, and then you're going to need all of these different softwares, because one side, like these one solutions like Pipedrive, for example, they'll do a bit, but they don't do all of it, right? And so getting one of those solutions is definitely really good, and especially if you're an agent and you want to do it yourself. The other thing is like taking advantage of like an integrator like myself, and hiring someone like myself who doesn't necessarily come in like, real estate agents are pitched every day on like $5,000 a month and I'll get you 100 leads, and you know what I mean, all this kind of stuff. Everyone, they're pitched every day on this stuff, and I was there, I did it, right? I'm not, again, but what integrators do is they basically come into your company and they set this all up for you inside, and then when they leave, it's still the same way as it was, right? They'll teach you, they'll do all the stuff, and if they want to, we'll stay inside a Slack channel and just be that fly on the wall for a small monthly retainer. It's very, very convenient to have us just sitting there if something goes wrong or if you need the next little thing, right? And so I find that like if you can get that one size like fits all solution of a software like Go High Level, for example, and you can get an integrator that comes in for the first 1, 2, 3 months, sets everything up and really shows you how it all works, and then they stay there as a fly on the wall, like for a low monthly retainer, to keep things going, you're going to be very well off, and you're going to have a lot of success doing that, right? So, and you're going to find that, like, even if it's $1,500 a month retainer, for example, I'm just making this up, or $1,000, you got to, like, that's not even, I mean, that's one extra house sale, and then you've paid for an integrator for what, for half a year, you know what I mean, off one house sale, depending on how much you're making, 4, 5, 6, 7, $10,000, right? Um, and the one really cool thing that most people don't realize now is that the majority of what an integrator does is actually a tax credit, because it's considered R&D, research and development, and we're creating a signature process that only works for your business. And because we're doing that, it technically qualifies as a tax credit, R&D. So yeah, sorry, I long-winded there, but yeah.
No, that was great. Actually, I had no idea. So this, and it makes perfect sense, right? It's considered research and development because it only works in your specific business. So you're creating something not necessarily completely new, but really something new as far as what works for you. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
How people can think of it, right? Because a lot of successful businesses, what they do is they invest a lot of money into that. So as an agent, I think it would be really wise to start thinking about how you can do it, right? Because what if, you have an integration system that works tailor-made for you and it works really well, but now that you have this in your, in place in your business, you can now outcompete everybody in the marketplace as well. So I think that's really interesting that you brought that point up.
Yeah, I mean, and like, if it's free for us to be there, then why not have us there in the first place? You know what I mean? Sure, during the year it's going to cost you money, but at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, it's going to be a lot nicer for you. You know what I mean? It's going to be very nice for you. So, yeah, just food for thought, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one of the other things that a lot of people will run into, especially agents, right? Because when they first get started in the industry, a lot of people start out part-time, kind of like the integrator students that you have right now as well. And maybe they're just kind of taking different tools as needed, right? Maybe they get a Calendly, it's the first thing because it's free, and then maybe they get Zoom Pro the second month when they need to talk to more clients, and then they keep adding things and upgrading things, and they get to a certain point. And usually, I think there's a lot of the a big reason for why a lot of the successful agents tend not to have good systems is because they all came up in similar ways, which is they started out small and they started adding and adding and adding, and then they got to a certain point where everything just doesn't necessarily match up altogether. Everything works well on its own, but it doesn't come together as a whole. So if you run into somebody like that, where would you say, as far as in that timeline, they should start thinking more about integration rather than just adding another kind of notch to the belt to just be able to run that piece of the business more efficiently? So should they start
Right.
earlier or more later?
Like, I would say right at the beginning. Like, I mean, you make a sale, and you sell a home or whatever it is. I would start right away, like right then and there. Like, I wouldn't, because I mean, like, again, like the commission made in a home, if you're just starting off and you're relying on that income, it might be a little bit harder. But if you're somehow, just starting off and you have this extra income coming in, and it's not necessarily something that you're going to live off of, then I would just almost pay for a yearly membership into a software that's going to be that amazing solution that you need right off the get-go, and then just getting rid of it. Annual subscriptions, and most people like shy away from them, but I like them because, like, you almost forget, and then you have that whole year now of using it and not having to spend $97 a month and be concerned about it or whatever. So I would say just get it over and done with right then and there, and waiting and delaying the inevitable, in my opinion, just like will stunt your growth. Right? It's just going to essentially. You get in this like scarcity mindset, like you're pinching dollars, or you're, oh, I can't do this now, I just got to do one more of this or one more of that, and then it never ends up happening, right? And I find that, like, the more and more that people do that, like, the longer and longer it drags out what they can do. And the other thing that I think that agents do a lot is they bounce from one brokerage to the next, right? And
Right.
so a lot of brokerages have different CRM solutions that come with their desk fee and all this kind of whatever they get, or they have to pay into it as well, right? And so I find that, like, having your own solution as well gives you the competitive advantage, because you're not using something that is keeping you bolted to that desk, or finding new opportunities, or having to do whatever you got to do. You have your own signature process, your own software, your own everything, and you don't need and have to rely on other outside things to get that done, right? You have your automation and your nurture sequences going, you have your pipeline set up, you have phone calls and all that kind of stuff. Your Zoom integrated for meeting with clients or whatever it might be, right? So yeah, I would say right away, right? Don't delay. Just get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good point that you brought up as well, which is, agents are jumping from brokerage to brokerage all the time. So if they're only reliant on their own brokerage's system, then when they do need to move, they're almost kind of handcuffed to their current office and they have to start all over. And that's why a lot of agents are taking, I guess, worse deals, if you will, with their own brokerage than switching to a brokerage that might, give them a better, commission split or help their business a little bit more as far as being able to keep more of the commission. So setting up that own system that really kind of works for you will be able to kind of allow you to be more flexible, like you said, right? Allow you to move from brokerage to brokerage, maybe even start your own someday.
Yeah, and then just become like specialized in the one that you have to learn it anyways, right? You have to learn something, right? You have to have some sort of a CRM. I'm guessing in a brokerage. Um, so why not just learn something that you can just take with you and it's yours forever, right? So
Yep, absolutely. And that's another good point as well, as far as developing a system that really works for the individual, right? Because when a lot of people look at this, they will see, they'll want to, I guess, like a more of a cookie cutter system that, maybe works for everybody. But kind of from our conversation so far, it doesn't sound like that there's really kind of one out there. It really has to almost fit into the specific agent's business or the specific entrepreneur's business, because essentially everybody does things a little bit differently, and they have to, it's their day-to-day operation at the end of the day. So how would you, what would you say as far as, I guess the specialization or the tailoring of the process, and how much goes into that as far as understanding what is it you're good at and what is it that you need to do to be able to create a system that only works for you?
Mm. Yeah. So when we start off, we literally go, "What is your sales process? What is your marketing process?" And we get them to write it out, right? And then we just go, "Okay, well, these are the features that will work." And normally they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. This is amazing." And then we just kind of just set it up the way that it works in their head, right? So, for example, if it's a pipeline, we just label the pipeline stages that comes out of their head the way that they want it to look like and the way that they want the flow to go. Some agents have 5 pipeline stages. Some agents have 30, right? And it just depends on what goes in their head and how active and where they want to put them into that sales cycle. And a lot of times, some agents really like sending out like a lot of communication and a lot of branding and all this kind of stuff. And some agents just don't care, right? And so it really depends on like what you want to do, right? Like a CRM is going to allow you to have like nice black and white emails or just super beautiful branded, with logos and all that kind of emails. It just really depends on what you want as an agent. And so right at the beginning when I start working with someone, we just go like, what's your grocery list? Number one, what are the things that keep you up at night and make you not want to be a business owner and things like that? We write down that grocery list. That's where normally we start, which is normally buying their time back. And number two, then we go like, what is your process? What is your process? And generally marketing, they're like, we don't have one, right? They don't have a marketing process at all. And so normally they have a sales cycle, but it's like, well, I'm supposed to do this and this and this first, and then that and that and that. And they're like, okay, well, what happens when this? Well, then I'm supposed to text them when that happens. I was like, well, don't you think it'd be crazy if like we could just automatically do that? They're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, done. They're like, what? And so they're just like flabbergasted at the fact that like now this entire step for the rest of their life is like done. Like that email goes out, they need to make edits to it, cool, whatever. If they need to send documents, just hyperlink them inside of an email, whatever it is, it's done. It's ready to go, right? So, and then a lot of times agents, business owners in general, we're talking about agents, but business owners in general will miss phone calls because they're always either showing a house or they're with another customer or they're taking a break or whatever it might be, right? And so one of the things that CRMs do that most people don't realize is they'll automatically text back a missed call. Most people have no idea. And so like imagine if like someone's going down your Google My Business listing and they call you because you're the first agent they've seen that they like or whatever, and you have good branding and a nice headshot or whatever it might be and some good reviews. They call you and you don't answer. Imagine when they're swiping, scrolling down to go and find the next agent, you've automatically texted them back going, hey, I can't get to the phone right now. It's so and so. I'd love to get you started. How can I help you? and you've already texted them back before they could go to down the next line. And so there's like a million things like that we can instantly, almost within the first week, get set up so like those things stop happening, right? You can catch more of that customer base and things like that, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important as far as understanding that these things can help you solve problems and actually help you prevent loss of business, right? Like you said, one of the things is the phantom loss, right? I think that's what it's called, where you don't even know you're losing business because somebody called you and you didn't even know they came in, right? You just thought it was a spam call, or maybe you were with a client and you didn't see it and it just kind of fell through the cracks.
well,
Right now, this
you phone them back, and they ghost you because they have found another agent, right? So
Yep, exactly, right, and I think that's maybe that's why they call it the phantom lost, right, because they ghosted you. But,
well,
I think it's
I mean, that's what it is. Like, well, I wouldn't say all the time, but like if you've already gone down the line and that person had nothing set up to message you back and say, I'll call you right back, I'm very sorry, here's a form to get started with me, or here's some advice in here, whatever you want to send them. If you don't have that set up, then yeah, they're going to ghost you because they already found Joe below you, that answered the phone because he wasn't at a open house or whatever it might have been, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, that's so important for an agent, right? Because think about like how many missed calls you get a year that are like that, right? That could have been clients that led to multiple sales and multiple referrals, right? So really start thinking about that as far as being able to catch that as almost like a safety net to catch your leads that maybe fall through the cracks. And that way you're able to really start increasing and improving your business, like we talked about earlier. You might have to take a haircut in the beginning to set these systems up, but once you do, you're automatically almost adding more business into your day to day, because not so many people are falling through the cracks, and you don't have to be super stressed out to kind of keep up with all of them, and so on and so forth. So that's really important.
Yeah, and I think I read a stat a long time ago. I don't know if it's true anymore, but there was like something that said like something like $6 billion a year is spent on real estate marketing, annually, like in lead generation, and 60% of all those leads generated never receive a first response. It was something crazy. I don't know, like, don't quote me on it, but it was
Right.
something absolutely outrageous. It was like several $billion, and 60% of all those leads generated never received a first response. And so like if you're relying on agents who are always like probably one of the some of the busiest business owners in terms of like phone calls and open houses and all this kind of stuff, it makes sense, right? Why would you not have an autoresponder on everything? Your email, your phone, your website chat widget, your missed calls, your voice, everything. Like have it that way. Like you have that, and people feel like, okay, well, this guy cares or this girl cares or whatever, right? So
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, that sounds about right. I mean, a lot of agents they're getting so many leads coming in, but like you said, they're not able to get to them, right? They're not able to get that first contact with them just because they're doing something else, or they're always trying to play catch up, right? It's almost, like they talk about the rat race, it's almost like agents are creating their own rat race in that sense, where they're always trying to play catch up, and they're always trying to, get to their leads that are coming in, they're not able to get to. So I think one of the other things that, maybe it'll be good for you to touch on is, you know, with all these systems and all these, kind of all of this technology that are in your business, they're, it's I believe it's inevitable for, some things to maybe fall through the cracks, or maybe a mistake or an error to happen, just, like a little glitch, or maybe system shuts down for, a day or two. So as far as the maintenance of an integrated system or an automation system, how much time do you think people should be putting into that? And how much effort do you think, as far as, going back and checking, making sure everything's correct and making sure everything's running and making sure there's no mistakes, or it doesn't send one client, a text intended for another client and it completely messes up the relationship? How much effort do you think an individual or a business owner should put into that, as far as maintaining their integration system?
meaning like a lot of their time should be going into the beginning to make sure. And generally, just like how I built my business, a lot of integrator systems are built on not failures, but problems that arise, right? It's like, oh, I don't want this to happen again, so let's add this now. Or I didn't
Right.
want this to happen. We never thought about that, so let's add a filter here. And so there's a lot of times that like you've built something and then you've never thought about like the little nuanced things that could happen as well. Like, for example, you get a text message coming in, and you're going to send them a, you want to become a new client, but they were already a client inside of your CRM. Well, maybe you add a tag to those people that are already clients, and then you filter them out, right? Oh, boom. Okay, so I went through that problem. Now I'll never do that again. So there's little tiny things at the beginning. You should be very aware of like what's going on and how it's going, because you were actively building something. After it's all set up and ready to go, I would say that the uptime on almost software right now is like 99.99. So generally, like the softwares aren't going down, and if they are, it's generally because of like Amazon or Google or some sort of like Cloudflare, like some sort of servers going down or something like that. So that's when there's a bit of a problem. But regardless, it's still a problem. And I would say that just like making sure that you're subscribed to those updates on your phone, making sure that you know when those things go down, and you get a text message saying such and such is down, that will allow you to be like, okay, well, I better go check and make sure that things are actually going through properly. I haven't missed anything, my Slack channels and all this kind of stuff. So I would just make sure that happens. And then in terms of like maintenance, and you're never going to stop. You're never going to stop optimizing. You're never going to stop changing. You're always going to want to have bigger and better nurture sequences and all that kind of stuff. So keeping someone on board is always like a really good idea, just to make sure that's delegated and out of the way. And so you're not really having to, always do it. Having a personal assistant like someone in the Philippines for $5 to $8 an hour to really help you out with like answering phone calls or text messages or whatever it might be is a really good idea as well. Because number one, hiring a Canadian American, very entitled, they don't show up. It's hard to find reliable people, right? But a Filipino, I've hired hundreds of Filipinos, and I've I've had such better luck with like having consistency that way. So having that little personal assistant for a very small amount of money every month is a really good idea as well. And then they'll catch things, right? You can have SOPs in your business that'll help them catch something that may or may not be going wrong, or come up with different ideas that might work better, or something along those lines, right? So, but yeah, to go back, I guess at the beginning, you should be spending the majority of your time. And the thing is like things generally don't get missed if you're using the systems you set up properly, if you're using them all the time, if you're staying true to the way that you set them up, and you're staying true to the system and the process, and you're moving people from one pipeline stage over to the next, and you're making sure that stuff is going through, then there's almost no reason why you wouldn't catch something, right? So
Right, absolutely. And I think it really starts with you being able to define your own sales process and your own business process, right? So if you're not able to define that yourself, that's going to make it really difficult even for an integrator to come in to kind of help you set it up. Would you say that's pretty much accurate there?
yeah, yeah. Like I've had a lot of clients that have just been like, "Hey, let's start in a week." I have no idea, and they'll just go back to the drawing board, and they'll begin thinking about it. And a lot of people have just never ever thought about like what their process is. They're just like they in their head they kind of know, but they never really thought about putting it on a paper, or looking at it inside of a CRM or something like that. So they just have no, they're flabbergasted at it. But then again, after they've done it, they're like, wow, I'm like, I could be doing so much more for my clients, and I could be having so many more clients, or I could be, making their experience a lot better, right? So
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's all about, understanding that yourself, and then having somebody else come in to kind of help you with that, and set all of that up, or, setting that up yourself, or, kind of whatever works for you. So I think one of the other things that you touched on a little bit, on when you talked about marketing, was I think a lot of agents will like to, as much as they can, automate their marketing, right? Because, kind of like a term in the industry is that, if you're not generating leads, you're going to be, unemployed pretty soon here, because you're always going to need that stream of clients coming in. So as far as being able to automate just that one piece of it, just the marketing piece of it, there's so many platforms out there. Agents, they like to get on as many platforms as they can to kind of promote themselves, get their name out there. What would you say is like a good plan to be able to start automating and start integrating the different marketing pieces that you're putting out there, and maybe repurposing content on different platforms so that you get the maximum reach?
yeah, so I think it was the last thing you said there, repurposing. And so
Mm.
everyone struggles with content. Everyone does. Everyone overthinks content. The funny thing is you go, can you build me a month worth of social media posts. And they're like, oh my gosh, and they get flat, and they have no idea what to do and how to do it and all this kind of stuff. But then I go, okay, listen, can you jump on an hour and talk about the best things that a seller should do to get their house ready for whatever? And they can talk for 2 hours nonstop, going. You're like, so there's this weird mental block. And it's not just real estate, it's everyone. They're like, I could talk about being an integrator like this for like hours. Like I could talk about every feature. I could talk anything you want. But then I'm like thinking about what to put on my social media page. I'm like, I have no idea. And so like my biggest solution, and it's not even a huge secret, is just talk, because that's what you're good at. So come up with your content, talk like this, get involved with someone that you know. Maybe it's another agent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's it doesn't matter who it is, but just have like a Zoom call or something like this and like go through all that, have them ask questions, do something like what we're doing right now. And then what you can do after that is you take that hour-long video or whatever you've done, you've given it to that virtual assistant I just told you about, and they're going to clip it up into 20 pieces of content, micro pieces of content. And then guess what you can do out of those micro pieces of content? You can create a short email for each point as well, right? And then if you have maybe bigger subcategories of that content that you have, maybe you can create 10 larger emails. And then, you know what I mean? So, and then I always have, I have a bit of a marketing plan. It's not mine, it's one of my mentors. And it's called the Sidewalk Slow Lane Fast Lane. And so like it works for real estate agents as well, right? So you have people that are on the sidewalk, you have people that are on the slow lane, you have people in the fast lane. Fast lane's like they're ready to buy, they're ready to sell, whatever it might be. Slow lane's like they know about you, they know about your solution, they know about what you do, but they're not really yet convinced. And then you have the sidewalk, and they're like, they have no fucking clue. Like they're walking, they barely even care. And so you have to create different types of content. But the funny thing is like the content that you create for each of those lanes is the same content, it's just smaller, right? And so when you're in the sidewalk, you're doing short, like 3-4 sentence emails, 1 to 3 minutes max, things like that. Maybe smaller social media posts and all this kind of stuff, maybe things like that, right? And then inside of those, maybe you lead them off into different pages, like a blog page or something to actually watch that video that you just did on a blog page. And guess what you can do when you go to a blog page? You can retarget them on another social media. You can then be omnipresent or whatever you want to do. But then you can automatically, as they open your emails, click your emails, and reply to your emails, you can lead score them. You can give them more points. What happens when they get to a certain point? You upgrade them into the slow lane. What happens in the slow lane? Well, you get longer content, you get testimonials, you get more videos, you get a little bit more casual content rather than structured and branded in the sidewalk, right? And it's like you're almost on a first name basis here, right? And then guess what happens when they engage with your content and go to like different websites and all this kind of stuff? You give them more lead score, and then what do? You put them into the fast lane. Now they're watching, 15 to 30, 90 minutes worth of content. They're down for getting on a phone call with you. They're all this kind of stuff. And so what you've done in this entire thing is that you go out, you build your content, you talk into the camera like I'm doing right now. And this will be even right now, this is a good piece of content I could clip out and I could put into, something I could put on social media, right? Like it's that easy. And then I could create an entire email off of that. How easy based off of that. And so your entire marketing system, your entire marketing architecture, like what I just explained, can literally be done if you just did two or three of these videos a week for the next 2 months. And then real estate content's fairly evergreen. Do you really have to always redo it? Not really. Like maybe current events and stuff like that, you can come up with some cool things. But after a certain point in time, there's only so many tips and boob-ops and all this kind of stuff that you can do in selling or buying a house, right? Or so many things that can be, done in your local town or city that you can go see and different, you know what I mean? Like, so that's my long-winded version of like how people overthink content.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was really helpful because, a lot of times they don't think about it, right? I think that's something that people run into as far as a mental block. It's like, what do you need to do to be able to create content, right? Everybody runs into the challenge of having content ideas, and that's probably the number one reason, maybe number two after fear of getting on camera, of people not making content or fear of criticism. But like you said, right, like that's why I like podcasts so much, because it gives you like 45 minutes to an hour worth of content that you can now repurpose for many different platforms. And that's exactly what I do. So being able to have that kind of that awareness that, there's something that you can talk about for a really long time, for an hour to 2 hours, which all agents can do that. Every business owner can do that about their business. Do it, find a way to do it. And then now you can start repurposing that content, breaking it up into different pieces, put it out on different platforms and start driving people, like you said, moving them from the sidewalk to the getting them in a car to the slow lane and then have them merge into the fast lane.
There you go. And the funny and the crazy thing is like, I bet you any money there's not going to be a massive difference between you just recording a video or you recording your voice. Start where you're comfortable. Stop overthinking it. Stop making excuses. Just record the fucking, excuse me, just record the freaking video. You know what I mean? Sorry. I'm Canadian. I don't have a filter, but just record it, you know, whether it's on video or it's your voice, you know, like who cares? Just get it out. You can put those little squiggly, like little audio, you know, that you know, the audio things that come up or whatever, like I forget what they're called, but you can just have that on screen instead of your face. You know what I mean? Who cares? You know, you could have just have a B-roll, like a roll of like houses or something like that, or like a video in the background, and then your little audio, you know, little squiggly lines that come up as you talk. And start there until you've done enough of those that you're like, oh, okay, well, the video thing's not gonna be, this is gonna be easy now. There you go.
Yep, absolutely. Just find some place to start, right? Just find somewhere to start, and you'll be good. If you just do that, right? And you start improving as you put out more content, right? Nobody was born to be a social media star, right? Everybody
Yeah.
improved as they did more and more of it. So I think another thing, you know, as far as integrations go, I think this is a pretty like a good topic to, I guess, close out the interview as well, which is you know, with all this talk of artificial intelligence, I mean, I guess it's a lot more than just talk right now. Is actual, you know, usage and, you know, new platforms coming out of AI and, you know, all these different tools coming out, you know, AI assistants and different things like that. You know, how much, as far as research, have you done into that? How much AI are you guys integrating in your courses and with your clients right now? And how do you see this kind of play into the integration and automation piece of businesses?
Yeah. So I think that like we're far away from true AI. I think right now, I think what we have is just probabilities and it's just math. And so I think like it's getting very, very convenient. It's getting very nice and all this kind of stuff. But I think like we're far away from true AI. But at the same time, like what it can do for you in your business right now, like especially even like some of the softwares I mentioned, like Go High Level, for example, has a direct chat GPT integration with it, right? And so a lot of what you can do is you like, for example, you can create like an FAQ sheet, right? Like on your website, and then you can reference ChatGPT to go check that out and then find the best possible answer and then respond to that client. And so, you know, like that's just a very easy prompt that you can create and then fine tune and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a lot out there where they're going to create like social media, you know, advertising pictures, and they're going to do, you know, some headlines and all that. And like Go High Level, for example, as well has like an actual content writer, and it has like, you know, other little things that it can help out with creating those subject lines that you're not really sure of or whatever it might be, right? So I think utilizing it is definitely a really good idea because it saves a ton of time. I use it almost every day to like summarize different things in here. So we use it and I teach it and I implement it in almost everything, but I just say stay wary of like the big huge solutions coming out for lots of money, because I don't think it's to a point where it's like really there yet for like full on taking over conversations or full on, you know, automating all of your processes or whatever it might be. Just be very wary of that. Just use it in like what it's really good at right now, which is like coming up with like the best probable answer or the best probable subject line or the best probable picture, whatever it might be, whatever that is. Use it for that kind of stuff now, and then go from there. And I could be wrong. Again, this is my opinion, right? There's probably lots out there that are very accurate, but I'm just want to be very careful, because eventually, if you start relying on it too much, I think you could be, you know, obviously, you know, stuck, or it could be essentially price increases, or it could be like totally just not be what you really needed in the first place, and it's just more of like that shiny object, right? So you know, there's $100-$200 monthly solutions out there that you can go get right now, so you just got to be very careful. That's all.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think a lot of times when you are using AI, especially some of the kind of the more popular ones out there, you know, it seems like sometimes they get kind of stuck in a loop, if you will. So it seems like they're just kind of saying the same thing in different ways over and over again, and it's not, you know, it's getting the idea as far as what you want to happen, but it's not what you want to happen, right? So it's not what you need in your business. So kind of going back to what we were talking about, these integration systems, they need to be tailor made for your business, right? At the end of the day, you're not just building a system to build a system. You're building it so that it can serve you, so that you can serve your clients better. So in AIs, I don't think, I would agree with you there. Is I don't think it's to the point where it can predict that, as far as on an individual level for every specific person.
That's why I always mention like creating your own FAQ sheet, because the thing is like what it does is it takes your answer, converts it to ones and zeros or whatever goes out to the internet in the past, right? Not in the future because it can't. And then it goes, what's the best pattern or best plausible answer for these ones and zeros, finds it, brings it back and goes boom. And then if it's not good enough, it goes back out to the same exact place and tries to come up with something different in the same area, whatever it is, comes back and gives you another solution. So why I go, okay, what are all the questions that you would get? Every question you get, write it down for the next month or two or whatever. We create this massive FAQ sheet and then we go, hey, ChatGPT, reference this sheet and find the best answer, right? Because then these answers are like exactly what they want them to be, and then they don't have to go and answer them, right? Whereas if we relied on ChatGPT to go out to the internet and find these answers, you might find George from Indiana's answer or whatever it might be, and it's not going to be as good or what you want, or it's going to be completely, you know, separate. So I always like to say like give it the ammunition it needs to work very properly, put in the work to actually build it so it's like super reliable, and then use it the way that you really want it to be, right? But don't just like plug it in and go, oh yeah, answer my question. It's like it's gonna
Right.
mess up. Something's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's almost like the way you want to use it is like setting up another automation system, right? So you want to kind of almost think of it like that instead of it being a replacement for human intelligence, which I think some people are hoping it would do. So,
Yeah, and like I think people are lazy, right? Like clients, not clients, but like their clients, like customers and all that kind of stuff. They don't want to go to a page and read it. If they want to answer, if they want to ask the same question to you as like 30 other people this week, then why not have that FAQ sheet run through ChatGPT and spit out a text for them? You know what I mean? Why not? It's the exact same thing as like just
right.
you going and copying and pasting it from your website, right? And so um yeah, I just think that like if you can minimize that and the for people to have to go and find their own answer on your website or go find this on their own or have to wait forever or Google something, they're not going to do it, right? But if you have that all of that in the background already done and ready to go, and you've done your homework and all those questions are sitting there, and people are still not reading it, it's like, okay, now let's automate, integrate this sheet or this page or whatever it is into answering these people that don't want to take the time to go and do this. And I mean, they're going to be great customers. They're going to spend a lot of money with you. Who cares if they don't want to go to a page? Like let's just give them what they want, right? So
Right, exactly. So I think that's a really good. I think it's really good. View of how agents and entrepreneurs and should be using artificial intelligence as especially the version of it that we have today. So I think that was from like an integrator's point of view, I think it's really really a unique perspective. So Mike, I just wanted to thank you again for being on the show today. I want to respect your time. For anybody who is listening or watching this that are really interested in what you have to say, that want more information, maybe want to be part of your Integrator Academy, or just want to follow you on social media, kind of see what you're up to, what are, I guess, some of the best channels that you're on as far as, where people can follow you on?
yeah, so Facebook is number one. I basically have the majority of my following there. So that's just Michael Dallas hyphen Peterson SEN at the end. So pretty long name. My parents couldn't agree on anything, so they gave me two last names. But you can find me on Facebook. There's a ton of fake profiles out there pretending to be me, but you can't mistake my profile. It's definitely you'll see. And then if you're a business owner, I have a company called Social Aim Solutions that you can reach out to, or and book an appointment on the website there, or you can go to theintegratoracademy.com, and there's a short little video there you can watch, and you can book a call with me if you're interested in becoming an integrator. So either way, if you're interested in becoming an integrator, or you want an integrator in your business, my students are looking for work, and I've trained all of them, right? So, or if you're sitting at home and you're like, maybe I want to give this real estate stuff or so whatever I'm doing a little bit of a break, and you want to do an integrator stuff, then I'm more than willing to help. So
Awesome. We'll make sure to put all of that information in the description and the show notes down below, so that way it's easy to find. But other than that, Mike, I want to thank you again for being on the show. You shared a lot of valuable insights into integration, automation, and in your story as well. So before I let you sign off, is there any last piece of any last tips, any last pieces of value or information you want to leave with us before I let you go today?
no, just I just my favorite quote, I guess, and I'll just say it again, is gold isn't where you think it is where you find it. So keep pondering that and trying to figure it out. It'll take you forever to just go through it. But yeah, other than that, no, I appreciate you having me on the show and stuff like that. And I enjoyed my time, and I think people are gonna have some fun listening to this. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again. Thank you again, Mike, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next show. Take care.